Ballyclare District Historical Memorial Association. The Teebane Massacre. It was the 17th of January 1992 that 14 construction workers employed by Cal Construction finished their work for the day, rebuilding the Lizanelli Army Base in Omagh. The men got into the works vehicle and headed for home as they did every day and had done for the past year. As the van approached the Teebane crossroads at around 5 o'clock, the IRA detonated a roadside bomb. The homemade explosive device ripped through one side of the van, instantly killing the row of workers seated there. Some of the bodies of the dead and injured were blown into nearby field and ditch as the explosion kept the momentum of the van rolling a further 30 yards along the road. The blast was said to have been heard from more than 10 miles away, and some witnesses claimed they heard automatic gunfire right before the explosion. This was to be the highest death toll in one incident since 1988. It was reported that the terrorists packed 1,500 pounds of explosives into 2 blue barrels. The power source for the detonation was placed about 200 metres up the hill that overlooks the road the workman's van was due to travel. The command wire was hidden under grass in the field along Loch Dhu Road. The explosion left a crater over 6 metres in diameter and over 1 metre in depth in the grass at the side of the road. This atrocity was claimed by the IRA Tyrone Brigade, stating that the workmen were legitimate targets as they were collaborating with the forces of occupation by rebuilding Lizanelli barracks. And then they stated they would continue with their attacks on all such collaborators. The IRA's statement said, "The IRA reiterates its long-standing call to those who continue to provide services or materials to the forces of occupation to desist immediately. Since 1985, the IRA has adopted a policy of taking military action aimed at ending Britain's cynical use of non-military personnel for the servicing and maintenance of British Crown Forces, bases and installations. For our part, we in the IRA will not tolerate a situation where military personnel are freed from essential services and maintenance tasks and then deployed where they can carry out wholesale repression within our community." The first victim to be shot and killed under this threat was a Catholic man who sold portable cabins to the RUC. This atrocity was condemned by both Unionist and Irish nationalist politicians. Gerry Adams of Sinn Féin, on the other hand, coldly described this massacre as a reminder of the failure of British policy in Ireland. Disgustingly and with no empathy, on the same evening, Peter Brooks, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, went on RTE's Late Late Show and sang "My Darling Clementine." Prime Minister John Major visited within days and, promising to send more troops, pledged that the IRA would not change government policy. As survivor Bobby O'Neill lay seriously injured, he was able to give a description to the police of a bearded man that had appeared and was callously walking through the carnage, unemotionally looking at the dead and injured civilians, offering no help to the wounded. Another witness, known as Witness L, described seeing a man of this same description in the area that morning. This man was believed to be one of the bombers, yet his photo fit was never released to the public, circulated only to the divisions of the RUC. The Historical Inquiries team revealed to the families of the victims how 2 similar photo fits were given to the police in the days and weeks after the tragedy, depicting a bearded man. but neither were ever made public, and although suspects were arrested, no one has ever been charged or convicted of this atrocity. The 7 of the innocent men killed outright that evening were Nigel McKee, aged 22, David Harkness, aged 23, Gary Bleeks, aged 25, Robert Dunseith, aged 25, Cecil Caldwell, aged 37, Richard McConnell, aged 38, and Robert Irons, aged 61. The van's driver, Oswald Gilchrist, aged 44, died from his injuries 4 days later. A commemoration service conducted by the Reverend William McRae, who preached about the need to remember those who were murdered by IRA terrorists, emphasised the duty of remembrance must be passed down from one generation to the next so that young people may prevent the tragedies of the past from being repeated in the future. He stated that if those who planned and perpetrated that wicked act are not caught in this life, they will face a day of accountability before the God of heaven. In 2012, on the 20th anniversary of this massacre, DUP MLA Trevor Clark demanded that Republicans provide the names of the IRA bombers. To this day, their silence is deafening.